Hey guys, Austin back again with another long play video. This time it's going to be Ninja Gaiden for the 8-bit Nintendo, and I'm actually playing this through the Wii's Virtual Console. As far as I can tell, it's identical to the original NES version, it's just emulated, so... But, yeah, I actually managed to do this without dying, and if you've listened to my podcast with Chris from Implant Games, well, let me correct. It's Chris's podcast, not mine. I just collaborate with him on it. I talk about this a little bit in that, but if you didn't listen to that, this is actually my second take on the game. And the first time I died a couple times, and the playthrough was a little rough. And I'm really rusty at this game. Actually, I hadn't played it in probably at least a year. And so what I did the first time though is I just went straight through the game, skipped all the cutscenes, and I purposely did it that way just to make sure I could get through the game without at least continuing. So the second time through, I did it to record all the cutscenes, which you're seeing here, but my playthrough was actually a lot better than the first one, and I ended up doing it without dying the second time around. So that's what we're watching here. We're watching my second take on this game. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden for the NES. This is actually probably one of my favorite Nintendo games out of the entire 8-bit NES library, and for a variety of reasons. It's just a fun action game. It offers a lot of challenge, especially when you're not familiar with it, or if you're like me and you are familiar with it and you go a long time without playing it and you go back to it and you realize you gotta really brush up on your skills. So it's a game that will always offer a challenge, especially if you give it some time. And yeah, just the soundtrack in this game is awesome. I really love the tunes in this game, still like them. Makes good use of the NES sound hardware, and it's just got some good beats, melodies, and all that good stuff. And there's a lot of moody tracks as well. Yeah, so yeah, this game is just yeah, one of my favorite NES games, and I played it quite a lot when I was younger, and actually yeah, it's actually one of my most played NES games as well, which is why I can get through it pretty quickly. If you don't watch all the cutscenes, this game will actually take you, it can take you about 10 minutes to beat if you skip through all the cutscenes. As you can see here, I'm just kind of flying through the stage, and that's part of the fun in it, in my opinion, is being able to just blaze through the game. And you can let it be a long experience. This video I think is like at least 45 minutes long, which is the entire game, all the cutscenes. Or you could just skip all the cutscenes, have it take 10 or 15 minutes, and just storm right through it. So now there are some little tricks in this game that I'm going to be talking about throughout the video as I kind of comment on my playthrough. I remember back when this game was still fairly new, the cutscenes in this game were really, at least as a kid, I thought they were awesome. They were really well done, and as simplistic as they are. And the translation on the story as well. I don't think there's a single spelling error in this game, which is really unusual for 8-bit Nintendo games back then. Most NES games had terrible translations, and yeah, this one, the story is also very cut and dry, and it really works well for this game. It's a very basic story, but it's good. If you've never bothered to actually watch or read the story in Ninja Gaiden, well, now's your chance. So Ninja Gaiden is a very basic game. You just run, you jump, you swipe your sword. You have a couple different items, like right there I just got, I had the Ninja Shuriken, and now I've got the Fire Wheel. I think it's the Fire Wheel. And different weapons, or different special weapons, are better for different situations, depending on the situation. My favorite in the game, though, is I forgot what the actual term is for it, but I just call it the spinny thing. It's that weapon right there, the whirlwind, kind of 360-degree sword swipe. and very useful. You can actually kill bosses in one hit with it. So a good part of this game, in terms of being able to blaze through it without dying and continuing, is making extremely good use of this this spinny thing weapon. And as you see throughout this video, I use it quite a bit, and I try to keep it to the end of each level. And normally I do on this level, I keep the weapon all the way through the whole stage, but I actually messed up later on in the stage and end up grabbing a secondary item I don't want, but it's all good. Now, when you jump and use that weapon in the air, the spinning weapon, it'll automatically come out. Now, if you can use just your regular sword swipe in the air though, instead of using the special weapon. And the reason you'd want to do this is to save your weapon power. Occasionally, I'll grab power-ups that'll up my weapon power amounts. It's that number beneath the timer. And every time I use a special weapon, that depletes, and certain special weapons take up a certain amount. And you always want to have at least one use of the spinning weapon, spinning sword swipe, when you get to the boss, if you want to kill them in one hit anyways. Otherwise you gotta fight them like this, like I'm doing right here. Some bosses are a walk in the park, others are a little more tricky. And it's the tricky bosses especially that you really want to have that weapon for, just to make life a little bit easier. But again, some special weapons are better for you know, other bosses than others, and some weapons aren't available in every stage. Like the spinning thing, it's not available in every level in the game. Like this next stage, it's not available in. So I ended up using the fire wheel on this boss, and you'll see how I do that. Now, if you noticed it, occasionally the screen will flash black for a quick second. It does this it does it a lot for when I'm recording Wii games and Virtual Console games. I have no idea why. I don't know if it's because I'm splitting the composite video signal when I do this to avoid having lag when I'm trying to record the game. If I record it straight into my box and I try to play it from the footage I see on my computer monitor, there's actually lag, and it's like 1.5 seconds lag. Maybe not that bad, but it's pretty bad to, especially in a game like this, to really mess me up. So I have it split, and for some reason on Wii games, especially in Virtual Console games, NES stuff, it keeps flashing this quick black. And I have no idea why it does that. I talked about that in my last video, or my last long play, which was Mega Man 2, and I was actually watching some Sega CD footage I captured about a month ago, right before recording this video, and it wasn't doing it in that, which was strange. So I don't know if it just hates the Wii, which could be a possibility. I actually meant to hook the Wii up through S-Video on this one, but I completely forgot to. I just hooked it straight up pretty quickly and went to go play. This stage, I believe, is the first instance of the birds appearing, and the birds are some really annoying enemies in this game. A lot of people hate them. Actually, a lot of people hate a lot of the enemies in this game, because it can be very frustrating if you don't know exactly how to play, when to swipe. But that's kind of part of the fun for me, is because this game, people claim it's extremely difficult, and it is quite a difficult game, but it's the kind of game that with a little bit of memorization and a little bit of, I don't know what to call it, suave gameplay, suave controls. Sorry, I just kind of lost myself right there. But it's the kind of game where once you really get the hang of it and know what you're doing, you can blaze right through it. And a lot of it is knowing how to play the game. Like right here, I know to immediately try to swipe those guys right away, otherwise it's going to be tricky to get to them and hit them, the bazooka dudes. And it always helps to kind of know where the enemies are. Like right there, I knew that guy was coming. I meant to actually swipe him, but the dude that's walking on the ground, he came back out of the screen, which he wasn't supposed to do, so I got a lucky quick save right there. And on this boss, I use the fire wheel. As you can see, he bounces one way, and I kind of aim each shot. It hits him, I think, 3 times each, and that's the quick way to attack this guy. What you normally do is you use the fire wheel, and then you duck and attack his bullets he shoots at you, and you can destroy 2 of them, and the third one at the top will go over your head. But I wasn't really playing too safe there, I just kind of ran into him. And story-wise, this is where the game kind of takes a slight twist, sort of. If it had any direction to begin with. I know the story is so cut and dry in this game, and it's an NES game. It's not like a full-on role-playing game, but the story is very simplistic. But I like it. And the later Ninja Gaiden games, at least Ninja Gaiden 3, the story was kind of convoluted, just kind of, I don't know, kind of out there, and it didn't seem as well developed as this one, despite how simplistic this is and straightforward it is. Ninja Gaiden 2 is kind of a mixed bag story-wise, in my opinion. I mean, I liked it, but it seemed a little force-fed in it, but still a fantastic game. I actually, you know, what's funny is I went to do a Ninja Gaiden 2 long play before doing Ninja Gaiden 1, and I was having a real hard time with that one for some odd reason, which is odd because that's the easiest one in the series, in my opinion, Ninja Gaiden 2, and it has some tricky moments, but it's a little more forgiving, thanks to the shadows that you can have follow you, which will do double or triple the attack power that you normally would, and some other things, being able to crawl up walls instead of having to manually make your way up them in this game, which I haven't even mentioned, but you've probably noticed as I've been playing, I've been latching onto walls, bouncing off them back and forth, and in Ninja Gaiden 1, when you latch onto a wall, you have to hold the jump button and then press in the opposite direction. And your ninja, or Ryu is his name, will jump off the wall. And if you got another wall, you know, in your trajectory, you'll latch onto that as well. And to get up walls, generally, you'll bounce back and forth between walls. In Ninja Gaiden 2, when you latch onto a wall, you could just hold up and he would walk up or climb up walls automatically for you. So, Ninja Gaiden 2 has a lot of elements that make the game easier, but for some odd reason I was still having a harder time with it. And I tried it like 2 or 3 times, got frustrated. It's probably just because I'm rusty. And I went ahead and played the first Ninja Gaiden, which also has some gameplay elements that can act a little more in my favor, like the spinning thing and the jumping and swiping attack method, which I'll talk a little more about that in a little bit. But Ninja Gaiden 2 doesn't have that. Now, I hope to do long plays eventually of every Ninja Gaiden on the NES. Definitely part 2 will be down the road. I will go back to that and try to one credit clear it. And Ninja Gaiden 3, I'm going to have to give a little practice. But that'll be a good one to talk about, because I don't think a ton of people have beaten Ninja Gaiden 3. I know there's a lot of people that really love the NES that still haven't beaten this one. But I think there's an even greater amount of people that haven't really dabbled with the third one in the series. So hopefully down the road I'll eventually be able to go back and do that. But I'll definitely be doing part 2 first. So this level right here is really where the game starts to pick up in its trickiness level, enemy placement and so forth. But again, if you know exactly how to swipe, when to swipe, then you should be good. I had the spinny thing there, but I really didn't need it. Having the fire wheel makes this part a little bit easier. Oops. Meant to try to hit him with it, but the time ran out on it. But I actually can get through the next segment, the mine segment, perfectly fine without the spinning slash. Every Ninja Gaiden has a scene just like that, and it's always awesome. This actually used to be one of my favorite levels in this game. I mean, the soundtrack was great, and you know, just the stage in general was pretty cool. There's a little clock here that you can get, which will pause time. Enemies won't come out for a few seconds. And they do. It's only a few seconds, but... So if you notice right here, if you time your jumps, you can do things like that. And one thing I like to do in this game is to constantly keep moving. Unless never mind, I'm kind of stuttering here. I lost brain fart. I like to keep moving in Ninja Gaiden. Unless there's a a hole like right there, I might, you know, fall down, instant death, or an enemy I know that's coming up that could hit me if I just jump through recklessly and could also lead me down a hole. So, but for the most part, I like to blaze through the game. Now, one other thing you'll notice is I'm purposely skipping a lot of these candles. Mostly because my memory is a little faulty. I don't remember what item is in each candle. And I remember that some of them are power-ups. And I only go for those. Because I want to keep the spinning slash. I don't want to accidentally get a different weapon. And because I want to kill this boss in one hit. Now this boss is the sort of the infamous two dogs, or whatever you want to call them. And they make a reappearance in Ninja Gaiden 2. They have wings on them. And they might even make an appearance in some form or another in part 3. I do not remember. But the left one is actually the one that takes the damage. If you destroy the second one on the right, it'll actually just disappear. You don't actually do any damage to the life bar. So it's not necessary that you go in and kill the second one, but I just kind of do it for fun. Because I can with the spinning weapon. And what's funny, there's actually a glitch on that boss, which I'll show you at the end of the video. Where sometimes if you destroy the second dog, he'll magically reappear, but then a second one will also reappear, and then there will be 3 of them bouncing around the screen. It's actually kind of funny. And the first time I played through this, that happened, and I'm glad I got that on video, and I'll show you that after I actually run through the entire game. Now from this point on is where the game gets really difficult, and this is where people really start having problems with the game. If you read on forums and people's comments on Ninja Gaiden, all the way from here up to the last level is really where the game really steps up its trickiness and difficulty level. But again, as I've, stated throughout the whole thing, if you really know what you're doing, then you should be able to get through it without too much problem. Just take your time, take it easy, and you should be good. Keep in mind that when you jump and swipe in the air, if you time it right, you can get a second swipe on the way back down. And that's how I'm jumping and killing enemies and hitting another enemy on the way back down. So if you really want to be flexible in this game, get used to playing like that. And it's always, for the most part, it's good to jump and attack enemies. And if you time it right, as you can see with that bat, you'll go straight through the enemy. And that's how I keep my momentum in this game. I keep jumping and attacking enemies. See, again, I did it right there. And I'm actually playing a little extra safe in this video. For the most part, I'm stopping and attacking enemies more often, just so I can try to get through the game without dying. I'm trying to not die as little as possible, and surprised that I actually managed to do the whole game without dying. Now that's something I've done before. I used to be able to do it almost on command back in high school, but that was like 11 years ago, or 10 years ago. So now I'm kind of taking my time a little bit, and I've got the spinning thing again, which is going to help me out a little bit here. Now these guys right here, you can actually just do exactly what I'm doing right there. Stop, jump up straight, and attack them, and you can get right through them. So if you don't have any special weapons, that's the good way to kill them. There's a bat up here, so you always want to be careful about that. When you see big jumps like that in this game, especially if you've never gotten to them before, you want to, I'm sorry, my brain is really not acting properly today. You want to just stop at the jumps and wait for something to appear, or jump over a little bit and then reposition yourself back on the platform to kind of push the screen forward a little bit, and oftentimes an enemy or like a bat or a bird will pop out. And when a bat pops out, if you go jump back again, another bat won't come out if that other bat is still on the screen. You can kind of bait the bat into coming out and then jump over him when he gets close to you. There are some parts in the game where that's really the only way to get past a long jump segment like that. Now these guys here can be a real pain, so again, just take your time. Having the spinny thing is really good. But I do forfeit it for the fire wheel, or the whatever you call it, the sort of invulnerability fire wheel, which is 99.5% of the time it actually does make you invulnerable. But there is one segment in the game where you can actually, an enemy can hit you through it, which that's only happened once or twice to me, but this one right here, if you grab it immediately and just bolt your way through this part, it'll make life a lot easier. There you go. And then right here, just wait, let the machine gunner go to the edge. You can actually clear him completely just by jumping over him. But yeah, those bazooka guys are really tough to get through without the rotating fire wheel. And even with the spinning thing, the sword slice, sometimes you'll actually get hit by them. It acts really weird. The fire wheel actually spreads out a little bit farther than your spinning attack, so that's why I always use the fire wheel when I get to that part. This boss is a bit of an anomaly anyways, so I don't even need the spinning slash. They refill your life when you get to this boss, and this is the first boss in the game where they do that. They refill your life completely. And all you have to do is go up to him and swipe him as quickly as possible. You get 3 or 4 hits off of him every time. And what I mean by that is he hits you, he shoots out this fireball, and he hits you guaranteed. There's no way around it. And so if you just keep swiping him, you'll get 3 or 4 hits off him. And since you start off with a full life bar, so long as you do that and you follow, you stick to it, you will beat him. And you'll always have about that much life left over. So you don't even need the spinning thing on him, because it would have gone away as you beat him anyways. But again, this is where you find out your father is still alive. And I like it. I really like it when you get through this story segment. The level, you notice when I first got up here, the sky was kind of bright, but now the sky is darker and stars come out. And this game, especially for an NES game, really paid attention to detail. And that's also one of the reasons why I think it still holds up as well as it does. Now, this, especially if no one has complained about any level prior to this, they complain about this one. For good reason. It can be difficult, and one thing that is extremely frustrating is if you get to a boss and you die, you go back to the very beginning of the game. And actually, I don't think it's if you just die. I think it's when you game over, you go back to the very beginning of the level, and it's just brutal. And a lot of people will get to these bosses, or they'll just get halfway through the stage, because this is actually the longest stage in the game, honestly. People will die and they'll get sent back to that very beginning part when you're still outside, and that's still a tricky part as it is. See, there's an instant right there where you want to still just wait for the enemy to pop out. If I just went and jumped right there, if I didn't have the spinning thing, I would have gotten hit by that guy and I would have gotten knocked off. And there's another instance where I baited the bat into coming out because I knew he was there. So if you're currently having a hard time with Ninja Gaiden, try to follow some of these tips I'm giving out. I know they're not like, you know, super pro tips. It's just what I've just kind of like learned from my own knowledge, own trial and error over the years. It'll make your life a lot easier when playing this game. If you've never been able to beat this before, try some of the stuff out. You should be able to beat it with a little bit of practice. And right there, I'm just purposely getting hit. Because there's life up here. Sometimes you can just, you know, eat some of the damage just to position yourself better so you can kill all the enemies. And that's what happens with me a little bit throughout this whole run. Manually climbing up the walls. Now we're nearing the very end of the game. This is actually the very last stage you play. And there's actually another segment right here where I think, yeah, there's an enemy up here. Since I had the spinning thing, I could just swipe right through him, no problem. Now, I didn't mention those little kind of bloated icons. I think they're like mini ninjas or something, I don't know. They are actually, they give you points. And so if you're playing this game for points, which I don't really do, I don't play the game for points, I just try to play it for survival. I think it would be fun to play it for points, honestly. But those little kind of bloated icons, they give you points. So if you are playing for points, you want to make sure you find out where all of those are. And there's another time clock here, stalling time. You definitely want to get those on this part, because those little small dudes, they fly right down. They're really annoying, and they'll make the level really troublesome. I purposely got hit there. I wanted to save my weapon power just in case I messed it up. Because when you get to these last bosses, they refill your health again. I think they refill your health for each battle, which is awesome. So despite if you die at the boss, you go back to the beginning of the level. Despite that happening, as long as you get to them, they'll, with whatever health you have, they'll refill it for you. Whereas I don't think they do that in Ninja Gaiden 2. I think when you get to a boss, at least the last bosses, they don't refill your health. I could be wrong. I'll find out when I do the long play of that, as it's been quite a while since I've beaten that game. But in this one, they refill your health, which is very good. Now, the last bosses in this game really actually aren't very difficult. As long as you have the spinning weapon to defeat this first guy, you know, like that. Beating Jaquio, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, or his name, not last name. That's the name of the final boss in this game, the main villain. And so long as you follow a basic pattern, you can get through him without a hitch. And you'll see the pattern here after I defeat this first form. So you gotta hit that orb. Otherwise, dodging those little fireballs or whatever you want to call them can be really tricky and do a lot of damage to you. Now keep in mind, when you're playing this game, you can't skip every story segment, even these ones towards the end of the game. You cannot skip the very final segment after you beat the game. But these, if you're just trying to roll through the game, you don't have to watch them. And that's how I normally play. I normally don't watch the story in this game. And, you know, I haven't seen it all the way through since probably when I was a kid. And so actually seeing the whole story from start to finish when doing this long play was actually pretty cool. It allowed me to see how well it actually holds up, and how cool these cutscenes actually were for back in, what did this game come out in, like 1989, I think? But yeah, here's the boss. He shoots out 2 fireballs, alright? They kind of cross paths every now and then, and to avoid them, you can just kind of sit in the center of them, let them both pass over you, as you'll see right there. Now, you only have enough time to get one hit. If you try to attack them again, those fireballs will actually come back up, and they're homing. Very light homing. They're not super good at homing, but if you let them target you straight towards the ground, they will actually go at a momentum to where they'll fly off the screen and they won't come back. But if you continue to stay in the air, the momentum will shift back up, and they'll come after you, and he'll just keep pummeling you with them. So there could be times where there's 2 or 3 groups of these fireballs coming after you, and that's where this boss can get tricky. So long as you jump up, swipe him once, get straight back to the ground, let him shoot the fireballs, try to guide him out of your way, get back up, attack again. You basically got to repeat that like 25 times, or however many life pellets he has. So this right here, though, is the very final boss, and this guy also makes a reappearance in Ninja Gaiden 2 with a slight alteration. But yeah, back in the day, I can't really think of too many other games that had like a multifaceted last boss where each form was like completely different than the first one too. So they really hit it on the nail in this game with a really well done final boss segment. Now, some people will disagree with that. They'll be like, man, this game's way too fucking hard. Because if you die at this guy, you go back to the very beginning of the game. Again, I'm at least pretty sure you go back to the beginning, not the beginning of the game, the beginning of the level. Fortunately, I didn't die. I didn't have to find out. So, but normally, when I get to this last boss, I don't die, because I know exactly how to beat him. And after you destroy him right here, you can actually, if you keep holding forward and jumping, you can actually get on top of him like that, which is always fun. So, So yeah, if any of this made sense, if any of what I'm saying made sense, this is the end of the game, basically, or just about the, it's the last story segment, and then the credits will roll, and then after that happens, I will, talk a little bit more about some other things really quick. It won't take very long. So even in the 80s, they incorporated things into storylines about the CIA being two-faced. That's hilarious. And you gotta love the old 80s art style. The big poofy flock of seagulls, hairdos, and yeah, Ninja Gaiden 2, they actually changed the art style a little bit. It holds up a little bit better than some of the art in this game does. And actually, it's really only in this last segment where like the hair is all poofy and stuff like that, where the game takes a twist art-wise. Because it's funny, like throughout the whole game, they get like up-close shots of Ryu's face, and he's like all buff and big and angry looking, and then he takes off his mask at the end. He's like this scrawny kid almost. And that's a really big sunrise. Yeah, that is it. Credits roll. Now, if you guys are curious, if you haven't done this before, if you really like the soundtrack in this game, there's actually a sound test menu you can get to from the title screen. When the Tecmo logo shows up, if you hold A, B, and then diagonally down left, select, and then press start, you go to the sound test menu. I actually had to go to Google for that. That's the beauty of being able to record the footage and then go back and talk about it. But that's it, guys. That is the end of Ninja Gaiden. And what I'm going to do now is actually talk just a little bit about some other tricks and tactics that I have, and I'll try to chop up haphazardly some video footage here. As you saw throughout this playthrough, what I do is I jump and swipe at enemies as much as I can, because in Ninja Gaiden 1, when you jump and swipe, as you're going up with the sword swipe, it'll still connect with the enemy and you'll continue moving through them as you're killing them. And then also let you swipe again on the way back down. And what that does is it gives you just continuous momentum. Especially on like the earlier stages in the game, you can literally roll through the levels without stopping at all for the most part. And I'll demonstrate that here a little bit. I'll throw a few cutscenes of me doing it. I'll try to get it in slow-mo a few times. And yeah, very, very good tactic. If you're having trouble with this game, get used to that. Definitely get used to that. And that'll also save you. As you probably saw throughout the playthrough, that actually saved me quite a few times when I probably would have gotten hit by an enemy or maybe got knocked down a hole or something like that. Alright, now from there, I'm going to show you that dog boss where the boss respawns after you kill half of it, and there's 3 dogs rolling around the screen. So let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. I'll just attack the second one on the right, and he reappears, and then another one appears in his place. And so there's two appear in one dog's place, if that makes sense, and there's 3 of them on screen. Now it doesn't last very long. I'll go straight and kill the other one real quick, but as you can see here, it happens. Kind of buggy, kind of glitchy, but it's definitely funny. And I can't really think of too much else to talk about, but I did want to talk about the respawning enemies in Ninja Gaiden. That's actually a complaint that a lot of people have in this game, is you can actually get to certain segments, say where birds come out, and if you're positioned just right as you kill them, another one will come out, and you kill that one, another one will come out, and they constantly respawn through the same spot. It's like the game recognizes the spawn positions based on how far the screen is pushed along, and it's good to know where these are to an extent, not where you can anticipate them. And sometimes though, when you kill an enemy, you walk back left just a tiny bit and the screen moves with you. This is especially apparent on the last level. An enemy you might have killed will reappear like a walking enemy, not just a bird. And on very thin platforming segments towards the end of the game, it makes getting through these parts really difficult. And probably one of the most infamous parts is this one right here. I'm going to show you in the long, it's just, okay, just this part right here. There's the I don't know what to even call these guys, but the guy in the white dress or suit, mutant, whatever you want to call him, he's like throwing these angled projectiles at you. And even if you just sit and you throw like a projectile at him, he tends to just pop back repeatedly. And what you can actually do on this part especially is when you see him there, move the screen over to the left just a tiny bit, and he'll disappear out of the screen, and when you go back, he'll be gone. You don't even have to attack him. I mean, it helps having the spinning thing if you have it at this point, and you don't even have to worry about that. But if you don't, if you have like the ninja throwing star or something like that, you can use that little tactic to get around this guy. So anyways, guys, that's basically it. I don't really think there's anything else to talk about trick or tip wise. I didn't mention the whirlwind shuriken, where you can shoot it out and then jump over it as it comes back to you, and you can continuously jump over it and it'll keep bouncing back and forth. I didn't talk about that, but you probably saw me do it once or twice, and that's definitely something good to get used to too. It doesn't hurt to have that following you around at certain parts of the game. But yeah, with that, guys, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed this long play. I'll be back with another video sometime soon. Feel free to leave some feedback below. If you've never watched any of my videos before, be sure to subscribe if you like what you see. I'm always doing stuff here. And yeah, I appreciate you watching, and take it easy.